Shifting focus to other news this morning, just days after the U.S. President Donald Trump imposed sweeping reciprocal tariffs on at least 75 nations, including India, the United States government seems to have backtracked on its decision, at least for now, in a move that has now given a major tariff relief for many countries, including India. Trump administration has decided to impose a pause, a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs that the U.S. president announced on what he called as Liberation Day on the 2nd of April. As per this decision, the reciprocal tariffs on 75 nations will be put to a halt for 90 days, and during this period, a universal 10% tariff will be imposed on all products imported from these nations. Citing the approach taken by multiple nations who chose not to impose reciprocal tariffs but instead chose to find amicable solutions, Donald Trump says that this is what led to his decision to pause the steep tariffs briefly.
And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75, and they all want to come, and they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury. We have our great senators here and congressmen. They'll call John, they'll do somebody, they'll go through somebody, but they're all calling, how do we do this? They all want to make a deal. Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible. A man like Roger Penske, I don't want to get him in trouble with China, so I won't, but he would know that you have to, someday you have to cut the bow and you have to do what you have to do, right, Roger?
Barring China, this 90-day pause on tariffs that has now been, announced by Donald Trump. Srinjoy, good morning. It seems that the United States, in particular, Donald Trump seems to be pulling the strings there, especially when it comes to the reactions that have been coming in from multiple nations, reciprocal tariffs, amicable talks and dialogue, and of course, with the reaction that came in from the stock markets too.
Yes. President Trump goes forward and backward and forward and backward. That's what he's been doing with tariffs all this while. Now, as far as China is concerned, well, this is something that was entirely expected, because China is the one country that has stood up and said, we will hit back in a way that it will hurt you. So naturally, President Trump has had to take action. But as far as this pulling back and this 90 days are concerned, this is something that will benefit India enormously. Because India was looking at this 27% tariff, and in a large number of ways, especially in certain areas of export, this was considered absolutely dreadful. So 27% is now down to 10%. And while China, it's over 100%, 125%. So anything that was $10 Chinese product is now $22 or so. So as a result, Chinese goods are going to be very out of reach for the American consumer. So exports will fall. That's one. But if there are Chinese goods for which there are no alternatives immediately, then there is a possibility of inflation. Though the possibility of inflation is considerably less, because tariffs for every other country has come down. But because China has raised tariffs, also American exports to China will also become more expensive and will tend to come down.